Faith is the firm conviction that nothing is impossible for God. One day, a young couple went to visit the Niagara waterfalls. It is a beautiful sight, and people like to view it as closely as possible. There are boats that take the tourists closer to the waterfall to have a closer view of the mighty waterfall. The young couple were enthusiastic as they got into one of those boats. As they were getting closer, the roar of the mighty waterfall was felt to be more frightening. The fog created by the water particles that split on the rocks made it appear threatening. As the boat got into the fog, the girl started screaming. She feared that they might get drowned in the waterfall. But the boatman, the captain, consoled her, saying, "Be calm. I know the waterfall and I can take you back safe. Trust me." He in fact went a little further and then turned the boat and took them back to the shore. For a moment, the girl had forgotten that the captain of the boat was capable of leading them safely home. This is what happens when we lose faith in God. We forget that God is capable of leading us safely even when the storms of life threaten to swallow us. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things unseen. When we are able to put our trust in the Lord, even amidst uncertainties, without any doubt, then we can say our faith is strong and full. In the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 17, verse 5 onwards, when the apostles asked Jesus to increase their faith, he answered, "If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and be planted in the sea,' and it would obey you." What Jesus is saying is that when your faith is full like the mustard seed, full of life, it will grow up like a seed that grows into a big tree. A seed can grow and become a tree, then bear fruit and produce more seeds and multiply itself 100-fold. Using the metaphor of uprooting and planting the mulberry tree in the sea, Jesus is assuring us that nothing is impossible for God if you have total faith in Him. Noah took 120 years to build the ark as long as 5 football fields. Abraham was 75 years old and had to move his entire family to another country. Sarah was past childbearing age and believed what God had promised and was faithful. Faith makes everything possible. Habakkuk was a minor prophet who lived during the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. He encouraged his fellow Jews to retain their faith during this disaster. He interprets faith as a persistent confidence in God's saving power. We read in the book of Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 4, "The just one, because of his faith, shall live." Paul had groomed Timothy as his successor in the ministry, but he was disillusioned at the lukewarmness of the Christians. In his second letter to Timothy, Paul encouraged him to persevere. Even as a prisoner, he was stressing the need for a living faith. The second letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 8, we read, "But bear your share of hardships for the gospel with the strength that comes from God." The Lord invites us today to hold fast to our faith, even amidst hardships and pain, in doubt and uncertainties. Deepening our faith would mean putting our trust completely in Him, believing that nothing is impossible for God. Let us proclaim with the psalmist, "If today you hear His voice, harden not your hearts."